Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are joined once again by John Riggio, our architect, tennis extraordinaire, tennis pro too. I mean, learning a lot about him all these weeks we get to talk, and months, because I've known you for quite some time now. John, would you mind doing the honors and tell us a little about yourself before we begin?
Yes, hello, my name is John Riggio. I'm the owner and CEO of John Riggio, RA Architect LLC, and I have my office here in New Jersey. I service the New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania areas. I could help you with any design project you might have, and the best way to find me is to go to my webpage, www.johnriggio.com, and there you can find a description of my work, portfolio, and my contact information to get in contact with me. Thank you.
And also your YouTube video, right? Your YouTube channel?
Yes, I have a YouTube channel. It shows a lot of the shows, and you get an example of a lot of the
amazing work you've done that you do. Yes, I've seen that. You shared that with us a few weeks ago as well.
Yes, so I have the YouTube channel also too. You could go on there and you could take a look at the different shows and get an idea of my work.
Awesome. John, what did you have in mind today? Because we got to learn about you in a whole nother aspect last week with the tennis background. So what would you have in mind for us today?
Yes, I think today we could talk about some more architect office things. I could talk about some of my projects and some different things about my architect office, things like that.
Perfect. Let's do it. And by the way, just to confirm, you're based out of New Jersey, but you can work anywhere, right?
I can work anywhere in the 50 states, but I'm usually working in the 3 states. And to work in the other states, of course, I would have to just get my license there. It isn't a big problem. I can do it.
Okay, great. Well, what did you want to start with?
I think as far as working in multi-states, I have had some clients where I was working on some jobs more like the design office, making the designs for them. And a lot of times what they would have to do is they'd have to find a local architect that works in the state.
Okay.
And they would then have to take those drawings and make a set of drawings applying all the local codes, things like that, put their stamp on them. And then from there, they can then construct their project.
So confusing to me. So for example, you as an architect, okay, I'm doing a little project in my yard. I got a pool finally in December. Now it's coming along. I got a permit for the pool, right? And I had to get architectural plans designed for a 16 by 20 shed. And so I had to get plans from an architect. I had to get them stamped by the town. Still hasn't been inspected yet. It's not even built yet. The footings are in. That's about it. And the pool hasn't been inspected. But there's so much that I hear. It gets so confusing. Like I don't have a liaison at the town to know these things. And even the architect doesn't know. I'm like, well, can I now apply to get plumbing permits in the, and someone says, no, you can never get a plumbing permit in a shed. They think you might rent it out. I'm like, I just wanted a shed for my kids and I want to put like a bathroom in there or like a kitchen maybe eventually. But like, I don't know how it is in New Jersey. Are you allowed to have like a pool house in any of your boroughs? Because I don't know what's happening, but I'm in the town of Brookhaven. Supposedly you can't, but again, I don't know. I know you don't know the permits and the areas out here, but just curious. Do you run into problems like that?
Yes, some people want to do things like that. It depends on the area where they live, where they have certain different codes. For something like using your accessory structure and having a bathroom, showers, things like that. It would go down as an accessory structure. It also has to do with the size of your property. Sometimes people could have more than one structure on the property. So I think if the property is really large enough, given also the zoning code, you could have a pool house that has a shower and bathrooms and things like that.
Yeah, it just gets confusing because then they want permits for like a 10 by 14 pergola that I got at Lowe's. That's just a structure that sits on top of my pavers, but they said that's a permanent structure. So I think the town I'm in is very picky, or is that most towns? I don't know, but I keep getting blindsided by these things when they came. Yeah, I'm like, what? And then I moved in 2017. Has this ever happened to you? I moved in, bought the home, 22 years old. There was a shed on the property. Fine. It's been there for years. We keep our garden stuff in it. Fine. Well, now I go to apply to get a gas permit for a heater, and they tell me I have to move that shed. It's 3 feet off my property line or too close. And I said, how come no one told me this when I bought the house or when I applied for the permit for the shed or the pool? Now you're telling me I have to physically pick up an 8x10 shed and move it that I never put there? To people moving into homes. I mean, how do you know?
Yeah, that happens all the time with sheds because sheds are usually like something you can buy locally, just put them in on your own. But they do have codes for the
Yeah.
accessory sheds. And I usually when people have to either get a final CO for their house or they are starting to put like an addition on their house, they find out all those little things like wood decks, accessory sheds, things like that. They all need to be legalized. Sometimes they have to be removed, things like that. And like you were saying, relocated so they're within the
Yeah.
setbacks. So things like that, they usually aren't a big deal, but at certain times you do have to legalize them, and that's really what happens with those type of things.
Oh my goodness. It's a lot of headache for us homeowners.
Yes, that's sort of the same situation with people's attics, people's cellars, things like that. With finishing them, sometimes they could eventually have problems. And when we're working on a job, renovating, adding additions, things like that, all those things they have to get legalized, and it might involve removing things, relocating sheds, things like that.
Wow. Oh my goodness. It drives me crazy. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I was just had a vent there for a second. All right. Wish you lived closer. You can help. So what were we saying? I forgot.
Yeah, so on some jobs, I do work on things where a franchise might give me sample drawings, sample specifications, and I would then apply that to a project locally. So there are whole design offices that are making standard plans, standard details, things like that. And when particularly on the commercial job that's really like a franchise, they would send me those standards and I would apply the standards to the project. And that is usually how each franchise is constructed. So that's how I would usually work on the jobs. And I was just describing some clients, they are very expansive. They're working in different states, and some of them I have provided designs for them and things like that. So I was doing the similar type of thing and providing them the design they want, the specifications, things like that, and they would have to go get someone to provide the construction drawings and stamp for things like that.
Oh, wow. And what does the stamp mean as an architect? It's your license, it's your number. What when you say stamp, that means you take responsibility for the dimensions, the drawing, the structure of it. Like what does that mean when you say the word stamp?
The stamp means you're licensed in the state, that you have a license, architect license registered, and you're
It means you should know what you're talking about. Maybe not
yeah.
all licensed ones, but okay, that's what it means. Okay.
Yes, they have the things with using your stamp. They also have the seal, really, just as far as how architect puts their stamp or really a seal, where it presses in a circular seal onto the drawing, and that's really what there's called this a stamp or a seal. It's really what it is.
Oh
They
my
usually
God.
just use the word stamp.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Wow. Okay, interesting. Stamp, but you have to have your license. Okay, good. Just making sure.
And yes, so that is one thing that is going on there. And yeah, I think as far as like offices and things, architect work, which is very interesting, is having your hours, working your hours and things like that, which is very interesting. And I know from having my own office, there's always this thing of like situations coming up in people's office where you are working
Mhm.
and there's a problem with either getting paid or you are or going over budget or something like that. And that's I know from years of experience with having to set up my office and things like that about not having the ability to deduct hours. You cannot really deduct hours, which is one interesting thing about professional work. I think a lot of people probably envision that you can probably deduct hours, like if you spent a certain number of hours working on a project, but you cannot deduct hours as like as a piece of equipment or things like that, which was one interesting thing about an office and working. So all those things you always have to be very time efficient and really keep uh, ahead of all those different things. I mean, that is one thing that is interesting to know about business. And like I had said about getting more business knowledge was always very good, and it's helped me a little bit. I mean, that has worked good. And I think I had talked about in the past some things like these days with computers, upgrading computer technology and things like that, which was very interesting. And I think I had said before about the computer technology. When I was starting off, I was one of the first people to really start off with computers, with computer drawing. This was something brand new. So since I was able to use the computer and had my
Mm-hmm.
education classes with computers, it was working good. Is is I was really the first architect to really make a blueprint from my plot machine. And for years, it was really so amazingly close to a blueprint that they really didn't notice it too much in the building department, which was really good. Because I think
Yeah.
originally blueprints really weren't good for your health. I
Mm-hmm.
found this out. That's I think one thing about going into architect work,
Yep.
I think most people didn't know about was like originally they had these blueprint machines which had like this ammonia um, it has ammonia cyanide in it. It was really very
Oh,
bad for your health. And so breathing that isn't good for your lungs. It isn't good for your health. And I think one thing about computers was really good was it was really a one way to start to get rid of blueprints because blueprints weren't too good for your health. They had this thing about venting the blueprint machine out of your office and things like that. I even started to go to one blueprint store where they started to make blueprints using oil-based liquid. So they're using oil
wow.
to make the blueprint. The blueprint also looked very similar to the ammonia-based blueprint. But then right after that, we jumped right over to computers. So I was really the first one to make these blue line prints, and it was working very good. I was making these blue line prints and submitting them, and I think it took a few years, but eventually the building department started to standardize themselves with just a black line print. Because I think the old term of like when you're building something, you say you have a blueprint
Mm-hmm.
is pretty standard. I think people still use the word blueprint, like you have blueprints to build something.
Yeah.
You put you have stamped blueprints, but they ended up standardizing everything to a black line print. I guess it made it easier. You can use a print machine or a copy machine that uses black lines. Very
Yeah.
easy to use. So those blue line prints that I made, all I did was I just adjusted my plot machine. It just printed out the black lines instead of blue lines. And the same thing was continuing on. I think they really liked that idea. I remember doing these in areas in Long Island in particular. I was working in New Jersey also, and then in New York City, and I liked these black line prints and the blue line prints I was submitting. And I think at one point there's always like an issue when they see like a blue line print and it looks just like a blueprint was something if I'm allowed to really have something that's a blue line print. And I think I remember they once had to ask about it in the building department. It was approved because
Like it
they
was.
knew it was future technology. They knew this was going to become the new trend.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to become computer printouts. They weren't going to use the blueprint machine anymore with the ammonia and the problems like that. So this whole thing with the blue line print really took. So I was really right on with the future technology with that. That really took good.
And what year was this?
This was right when I was really just graduating school. I started to do this back all the way in like 1990,
Wow.
1991, and then I graduated in 1992. And this idea completely progressed where I ended up just making the blue line prints with my own print machine. And then I would manually put my own stamp on it and sign it.
Mm-hmm.
And the building departments really did like it. They like this whole thing. It gets rid of the ammonia problem, breathing in ammonia citrate and everything in there. And then the they switched over to black line. Didn't make any difference really. There was no difference as far as the ink or printing out
Mm-hmm.
the drawings. And this is become the standard now. Everything is just printed out, and some areas you don't even have to put your stamp and signature on
So
it.
true.
You can make a scan of the stamp and your signature and just paste it on the drawing. And that is pretty
Wow.
much standard in New York City, where you no longer have to manually stamp and sign. You could just take your scan,
Oh, cool.
affix to the drawing, you make a PDF copy of it, and that's how it works. And then you submit it like that. So they like that idea, and so that's the newest style of how the drawings are going. And so, but it works very good. That is so that has worked really good, and that has pretty much stayed somewhat stable for a long time now with the black line prints. This has been going on for a while now. They made the decision, would you just go on black line, no more blue lines, and that has been a standard for a long time. So that is one thing that I was able to do, and it really continued to become the standard. So I was able to follow along with the trend. Very good with that. So that worked good, and I got rid of that problem with the ammonia smell of the you're breathing in ammonia, and this is very unhealthy for you. And I think so. Like the ammonia originally, like you use the ammonia blueprint machines when you first start off, and you start coughing and everything. I didn't know what was going on with that whole thing with the ammonia really, breathing in ammonia. So getting rid of this whole ammonia problem was very good, and that worked good. And that is that. I think that is one thing that I was able to do, and so I was able to progress with that whole thing. That worked very good. That is one real advantage that was taking place in the industry. I think a lot of people probably didn't realize that because the thing with the ammonia, I think if you have so many blueprints in ammonia in your office in the room, it's really I think it's bad for your health, and it obviously isn't too good.
I'm thinking about that smell. Ooh.
Yeah, so that worked very good, but I think that's indication of my office and myself was able to really go ahead with the going trend and became a standard. So everything went really good. And I think originally when I was submitting these blue line prints, they really could not tell the difference between the blue line print and the blue line, the old-fashioned blue line print that they had. So that was very good. So it really worked good. And I think in my generation, and particularly myself, I was started off when I was going to take the people I worked for. I took their manually drawn border on their drawing, and I started to digitize them and put them on the computer onto AutoCAD originally. Most people were using AutoCAD back then, and this worked really good. And then progressed over to DesignCAD, and this is was one thing I was doing, and it was able to really progress a number of offices. So the offices I worked for were able to take some ability of computers and CAD drawing that I was providing for them, and was able to change their whole future of their whole office. I did this with a number of offices, digitized their borders, and the thing with the stamp getting scanned on, I think the that eventually was starting to take place with scanning the stamp up, but that wasn't really the big issue. The big issue was really instead of having manually printed uh, borders on the drawing, and even having the drawing, getting rid of manually drawing the whole set of plans, was to put
Mm-hmm.
the whole thing on the computer, because originally you would feed in to the plot machine. You would take a pre-printed uh, drawing sheet and you would put it into the machine.
Thinking of like the old school, was it like microfiche or something? What do we used to use at the library? Like that type of blue ink.
Yes.
What was it
No,
called?
well, the microfiche was very good to record things. I think the only problem with microfiche is they really did not have a scale on the microfiche. For some reason, they were never able to duplicate the drawings to scale, which is one of the biggest problems with microfiche. I think that was the biggest letdown microfiche. There
Mm-hmm.
was a little discoloration on the microfiche. The chances of it coming out perfectly weren't too good. They didn't duplicate perfectly. But I think overall, the one thing about microfiche that I did like was that it was a solid piece of plastic.
Yeah.
Wasn't going to just get deleted.
Mm-hmm.
I think just one possibility is maybe they could even take like a PDF and maybe even print it onto a microfiche to scale, give you a nice hard copy. I mean, that's like a little retro idea, but that's always one possibility to keep in your files. And because there's always a chance that your hard drive can go down, you could lose data of your files, things like that. But so really what happened was this. So this is another idea that I took with architect offices, and it really progressed because all the architect offices changed from feeding one piece of paper in. So they had usually two kinds of size papers: 24 by 36 and 30 by
Wow.
42,
Mm-hmm.
either a D size or E size piece of paper. And
Huge.
but that changed to rolling the drawings into the print machine. So the idea of feeding in one sheet at a time started to go away anyway. So my
Mm-hmm.
idea of scanning the borders in worked even better because you can have your roll of blank paper in the machine, and then you print out one or more sheets of a drawing in a few minutes. You no longer are feeding in one sheet of bordered paper at a time. So before you would have to align one sheet of,
Mm-hmm.
and then you turn your computer on, you'd have to print it out. Hopefully it goes on
Hopefully.
correctly. Yeah,
No big
because
Wi-Fi, right?
yes, no, everything wasn't working so perfectly starting off. So with the roll of paper now that we use, and it prints out onto a plot machine. I use a HP plot machine, and you can print out a whole number of drawings. You can print out the whole set of construction drawings. Maybe you print out 10 drawings at one time, and so there's the feeding through a pre-printed sheet is gone. So that idea was another idea that I had that really progressed with technology. And I've been using it in my office for years. I never bothered with any pre-printed sheets of paper. I always
Mm.
had my computer CAD software print out the drawing with the border on it, pre-printed, and I could print out a whole set of drawings. And this I had already had spread to the offices I worked for, so they already
Mm-hmm.
were able to do this. This is another ability I had starting off, was to make this really much more advanced for them. They were able to upgrade to the new roll feed plot machines, and they didn't have to feed in a pre-printed border anymore. And since I already digitized the border for them, it just printed right out, and everything worked great. They were able to print out their drawings without any problem. And this, I did this for a number of offices, and they were able to do this, and
Wow.
so it worked really good. And this is an idea. I think every office does this now. There's no way to get a roll of pre-printed borders. It would never work in a plot machine. So this idea is another thing I worked on that really did really good, and was another thing that really progressed with the technology. Everything went really good as far as the technology and my idea matching how things are printing out, because
Um,
originally I was what I was doing was putting a pre-made border onto a drawing, and then putting a blank piece of paper or mylar into the plot machine. And it used to, some of them were even just old pen machines. They used to have this like a pen like a .5 ink pen. It would
Wow.
draw ink on the pen, and it would take a long time. Each drawing could take like 15, 20 minutes or more to make the drawing, which is and then you would take that drawing and you would have to go to the old-fashioned blueprint machine, and you would still use the old-fashioned blueprint machine to make copies for the contractor in the building department. So you take that, you might make maybe 3, 5 copies for everyone, and you would get a set. They had the print houses back then. They would make reprographic blueprints for
Mm-hmm.
architecture. You could bring it there, and they print them out, bind them for you, and everything. That's another way people used to do it. I used to do that too. I used to bring them over to the print uh, stores and things like that. And so that is how things used to work. But I was able to really go ahead with the technology, and my technology matched how things started to work with the plotting and printing. So that's another thing I was able to do. I was able to really stay ahead of the how the industry was really moving with printing the drawings using a border that is already on the CAD software and just prints out with the drawing at one time. And this is so I had that. So at that point, after I had put that whole thing together, is how I started to
Mm-hmm.
print out my blue line prints right from my own machine and used to submit them to the building departments. And so I was already using. I went ahead with the newest ideas. I took my chances that it wasn't just gonna cause a big problem for myself, and I was doing pretty good with that. They did like it, so I think that really helped. That was
Got
one
it.
thing that helped my career, and they building departments really liked my print line drawings. Originally were blue line drawings, and then when they looked at these, everyone eventually switched over to just a black line drawing, and that's really how it worked. It worked really good, and so that is one thing about myself working and having my own office that I was able to progress this ideas, and it worked very good. And a lot of offices were able to benefit, like I had explained. The offices I worked for, they were all able to benefit from this idea of having the pre-printed border printing out and everything, so it worked good.
Wow. Well, we have to take a quick break because Zoom's going to break us up. So let's do it. Remind us, John, how we can contact you, and we'll come right back after the break.
Yes, you can just go to my webpage. It is www.johnriggio.com. That's www.johnriggio.com. And there you can find a description of my work, a portfolio, and my contact information. And you can give me a call to start on your next project.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, everyone, stay tuned. We'll be right back with more. Don't go anywhere.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes? B, console her?
Don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
Or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back to the show. We are joined live today again by John Riggio, our architect and friend. And we're talking to him today, obviously, about the work he does. And he is now back. Yes, we are. What perfect timing. Couldn't have made the segue any clearer. Thank you so much for that, John, popping on at the perfect time. How are you?
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, so we took our little commercial break and we're back to talk more about your work and blueprints today.
Yes.
You have something to show us?
Yeah, let me see. I have some
You
old.
can share the screen again.
Yeah, I could share the screen here. Let me just share the screen for a minute.
Sure.
Okay, so I think, do you see this picture?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's the machine you were just talking about?
This is a picture going back from years ago.
Wow.
And this is the original HP plotter that I used to have. And so this is where I was printing out my all printed border with the drawing. So that's one of them. So let me just check another drawing on here for you. Let me just see if I have another one here. Okay. Yes. And then this one here, let me just let me just share this one here. Okay, so this here you can see my computer console from years ago.
I remember that.
I have a nice sturdy desk there. This was the latest technology from years ago. I had an all color print fax machine here. Had a very nice tower computer. Everything was
That a Dell?
This was like the newest. It wasn't a Dell. Oh yes, it was a Dell. That
Oh,
was
okay.
yes. I had a number of computers. I think with the old computer systems, they didn't last very long with the new technology. The technology was changing so fast. I had to get so many computers, like a computer maybe once per year for a little while until things calm down. But that is my computer there, and I have all the latest technologies there. Okay, let me take a quick look at the next picture. Okay, yes, this is okay, yeah, I could share this picture. This is a good picture to share. Okay, now this picture, if you see what's going on here, this is my old drafting table.
Wow.
I bought this drafting table, I think at the time it was has this old light fixture over here. I think here I have my Frank Lloyd Wright paper notepad there from going over to the different houses they have, like flowing water and everything. But this is the old style table that used to have the straight edge on the bottom rolls up and down, and I had the light there, and you see it has the top piece on here has the cover over the board. And this was a pretty good quality table. I think it was $250 when I bought it back then. This is pretty good, and that's what is on here. So let me just see some other pictures I have. So this is like my original office, and let's see. I think I have a picture of one of my. Let's take a quick look. Okay, yes, there's a picture of myself. Let me just share. This is good. So this shows a good picture of myself. And let me just share this here. So I think, can you see my picture here?
Oh my gosh, is that you?
Yes, yes. So
How
I think
cute.
this is a
How
pretty
old
good
were you?
picture. I was still very young. I think I was, this must have been like 19, what year was this? Like 1994 or something like that. I think it was like 1994. And you see here, I have some, I'm there. You see, I'm very thin there. I'm still playing tennis. I'm still playing tennis at this time. You see, I'm still very thin.
Handsome young dude. Look at you.
Yes, I'm still very thin. I only have like a 32-inch waist. I'm very thin, 32-inch waist. And I think still in excellent shape there. And then, so that's the same picture with one with the original plot machine I had there. And that plot machine, this is a picture right before I opened my office in Hicksville, on Broadway in Hicksville.
Ah, 106, 107 near the Broadway Mall.
Yes, it was right across from the Broadway Mall, right down on North Broadway. And this is So I took this plot machine, I took all my papers, everything, and I moved. This is right before I moved out and moved into my new office. But I'm still in excellent shape here. This is a good picture of me here. And I'm starting to get some dress clothes on, some button-down shirt, things like that. So the blue jeans are going away, things like that. And so this is a pretty good picture. So then let me see if I have some other pictures here. Okay. All right. Okay, yes. Okay, so let me just show you this. This is so this is good just to see a little piece of what's going on here. Okay, can you see this picture?
Yep.
Okay, so this you see these are the same file cabinets. So this is just like a couple months later. I move into my office in Hicksville.
Oh, and I see all the pictures on the wall of the work you've done. Oh my gosh, this
Yes.
is so cool because I'm about half hour east of Hicksville in Holtzville. So I know the area well though, 'cause that mall used to be one of my favorites.
Yeah, so I think in here, I'm just looking at the pictures. I can show some pictures, but this is
Oh my
already showing that I
goodness.
have some new ExxonMobil buildings, new Sunoco buildings, hairdresser, all kinds of things on the pictures here. And this is showing one picture there of that office. Let me see if I can another photograph here. Okay. Yeah, this is another one. I could just share this real quick. Let me just share this here. This is the rest of that room showing I have two workstations and let's see, this is the front entrance and this is heading into my office. So this is showing this myself at the desk. So this is really just a few months
You
later.
really haven't changed. Look at you. I like because now you got like the little gray like salt and pepper, but you look great.
I was able to get a very nice photograph, nice haircut.
You have great hair. You are so blessed with beautiful hair too. My goodness. Good genes, John.
Yes, so I think this whole thing, this is where I started to had to change my computers already.
Yeah, look.
So from that picture I shown in the other office with the desk, I already had to move everything over. I changed it. The plot machine's still there, but everything else is brand new. I had to completely change a whole new office. Everything's all new systems are up. I have my new file cabinet in the back there. New desk is there, so everything is looking pretty good. And let me see what any other pictures on this. Okay, so those are okay. And then I think I have let me see if I have any other pictures. Okay, let's take a real quick look at this. Oh, okay, yes, I could show a picture here. Let's see if I have yes. Okay, let me just take a quick 2 seconds look at this. Okay, so I think where the offices that I had worked at, in fact, yeah, okay, so this is the next picture. I can share this picture. I mean, this is always good to look at. I think anyone watching this, it's always good to see this. You can see now this is just a couple years later. This is a couple years before. This is, in fact, before picture. This is before the office you saw there. This is a very good picture because you see here it's showing myself working at someone's office. And this is the old-fashioned plot machine. This is a pen plotter, and it is not a roll feed plotter. This is a single feed sheet plotter.
What year is this about?
Yeah, this must be around like 1993. This is around 1993. And I think a picture of my office was a few years later. That picture was in the year 2002. So my office in Hicksville was 2002. And this picture is about 19, wasn't 1993, I'm remembering. This is closer to 1995. So this is closer to 1995, maybe about 3 years after I had already graduated. I'm working for someone, and this is their pen plotter. So this is where I had started to digitize their border, and this is showing it here, a single sheet piece of paper, plotting out, and that plot that I have on here, it's got to take maybe as long as a half an hour to really completely uh, print out. Then you have to bring it across the hall um, to the old-fashioned blueprint machine with the ammonia. Now here, yeah, I'm still in good shape. I'm a little bit younger. And let me just stop this for 2 seconds. I want to just check the next picture. I remember here I have a few good pictures of, I think I have another very good picture of my, yes, this is another good picture. Okay, so this one here. Okay, so this is another one here. And I think this gives you an idea of an office that I was working at. And you see the room is like isn't like my office exactly. It's a little different. And then let's get to the next
That's
one.
like right out of the movie. I love it.
Yes, this PDF I cannot go from picture to picture. So let me just get another nice picture myself here. Yes, this is a good picture myself. So let me just share. This is always good to see. So this here shows myself sitting at the
Ah,
table
okay.
here. And I think so this shows me where I was working like just before I was able to leave and get my license. So this is right at the end of my experience requirements. And so right after this is when I jumped over to having my own office in Hicksville. It just took a couple things of getting my office set up going. I was able to get the better plotter machine, so I just used a roll plotter machine instead of that single feed that they were using at that office. And this is showing my desk here, and this is this is just where I work. That's the computer, the desk, everything's there. And let me just stop this one. I think I have one more picture of me here. Let me just take a quick look at this. Yes, I have one more picture here. Okay, so this is showing the same desk just from the other side. And I think there's some projects you see on the wall here. I was working on some of these with the office there, and this is just like that's just the basic situation there. And I think the computer desk could be a little bit better on that. Let me, I think the computer desk on there was really just like
A fold up.
a board put on some files
It
and
looked like,
everything.
yeah, just a piece of wood. That's fine.
And so that's there. Let me see what else. Okay, I think that's it on that job. Okay, good. Let me see if I have anything else. No, let me just check this one out. Okay, yeah, I think on this I could just show one sample of one of the jobs I worked with them. And this was a pretty good job. This was the quick, make sure it's okay. 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 All right, let me just make sure it's a finished project. Okay. Okay, yes. Let me just share this real quick.
Sure.
So I think with that office, I was working on things like this type of.
Pergament. I used to love pergament. Oh my, and wall bombs. Oh my goodness. Wait, where's that?
Yeah, this is somewhere. I don't know whether it's in Long Island or Whitestone or someplace.
Oh my, Whitestone. I used to live in Whitestone for many years. That looks like LaGuardia Airport over there. Is that like 20th Avenue, College Point or something?
Yeah, so I used to work on a lot of these type of jobs there, and that's some of them. Let's see, this is this one here, Pergament.
Pergament. Oh my gosh.
Well, that's my MG, and this is that is. Let me see if I have anything else. Yes. And then this is okay, so this is yeah, some
Is
industrial.
that College Point?
Yeah, this is White Rose Distributors. So I was working on some things like that. That's some of the apprenticeship jobs. Let me see if I have any other good pictures. Okay, yes, this is a good one. I think this one I went to this job was a really big job, had originally more than one architect on it, and I think I really made this job get completed and built. This is a really big job in Hempstead. It's the health building, Nassau Extended Care Center. This is a big project. And this project was sitting around in their office, and I think I came there and I used my computer experience and was able to help them put this thing together. And this is a completed project. They're pretty happy to see me when I entered into this building. They let me take some pictures. And this is the completed building. There was a few people working on this job. It was large and it took a number of years. There was some people worked on it before, another architect, and then they switched it over to where I was working, and a new set of people started working on the job. I started working on the job, and this whole thing had to go through with the state approval and things like that. It was so it took a long time to finish, but this is a pretty big job, and this is finished. And those are some pictures on that job. Then on this office, I have another example of just some apprenticeship jobs. And let me just get this. This is okay. Yes, this is the Barnes and Noble in Manhasset. And this was a pretty good job. This is I worked on this job, did a lot of
Starbucks.
And this is typical of what I was explaining with a franchise. I think a lot of these are really franchises of stores, and they all have standards. So I always took the standards and coordinated it with the standard. Some of them have a standard office that's in another state. You have to call them, talk to them, go over the plans.
So much work.
And this whole thing at that time was also taking a drawing that was usually an AutoCAD drawing and transferring it over to other formats. Everyone wasn't using AutoCAD. We were using other software. And so I had the ability to take this software. I had them buy transfer. I had them buy transfer software to take it. We used to convert the drawing files. They used to send it over to these planning offices. They used to put their markings on it, send it back to me, coordinating the plan to what they want. And so that is what was happening there. So this is the Barnes and Noble that's finished. So I worked on this. And so that is what was happening here. This is the Barnes and Noble. So that's the front of it. And I noticed on this Barnes and Noble, I was over there and they started building another steel structure like one block down. And they were building this steel structure, and it was gonna looks like it was a very nice like 3-story building, similar to the building that's next to this Barnes and Noble here. But what happened is the recession really hit, and that steel structure just stayed there. And it stayed there for a number of years. And I remember going back there and they ended up having to dismantle the whole steel frame. They never found someone to finish it.
Wow.
They ended up dismantling the whole steel frame, and then or they might have built something else there at this time, but they had to end up dismantling it. So this Barnes & Noble was another project that I worked on, and it was 100% completed. Everything went good. So that's another thing about my architect office today, and even when I was working with people, that I was able to get the jobs finished. I can coordinate with
Beautiful.
the
All phases.
offices, the contractor. Even back then, I go there on site if they need any help, and we can finish these jobs. And like the one down the block, you see, just stayed there. No one finished it, and they had to spend the money to remove all the steel from the property. Must have been a big loss of investment. So this is the Barnes & Noble here in Manhasset. I worked on this.
That is so pretty, Manhasset. It's gorgeous. Look at those flowers.
Yes.
Is that still there?
I don't know if it's still there or not.
I don't know either.
Okay, let me see if there's anything else from this.
And we have to wrap up soon. I'm sorry.
Okay. I think with this one, what I could do is I could show this job is, now this is a job that I worked for a design company, and this was really one of my first new constructions. Let me see if I could zoom in this job.
Sure.
Let me just zoom it in. Let's
there
zoom
you
this
go.
in. And you see what this is? This is a landmark building over in the same area.
Oh, we talked about
This
this
is in
in
Manhasset.
the past.
And this building, this part of the building is an elevator. So I worked on this job. I had to design it. I'm the one who made this design, and it got approved by the landmark board in Manhasset. So that was the biggest one.
That must have been difficult.
The owner of this property, he had proposed some other designs of a prefab, and it was turned down miserably. They did not like it at all. But when I got onto this job, I designed it for them. I continued the detailing around and everything. You see, they has this nice this window with the little detail in the center of the window, the storefront, everything. And this is one of my first projects, and here's another one.
Beautiful.
And that's how. And so this was officially a landmark because it was an old firehouse for many years, and this was converted into a medical therapy building on the second floor. So they needed the elevator. And it did go ahead. So North Shore Hospital ended up renting this building, so it became economic successful.
Nice.
Was able to rent it to a big hospital.
And John, just quickly before we go, what made you leave the island to go to Jersey?
Too much pollution in New York City. I was living in New York City for more than 10 years, and then
got it
here. But I'm still centered in New York City. I mean, everything here is New York City, and so things are good. In fact, I did get away from the pollution problem, and my hair color came back a little, so it's good.
Well, John, thank you so much for sharing all this. If we want to reach out to you, John Riggio, tell us how we do so.
Yes, let me just stop this. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, you can just go onto my webpage, www.johnriggio.com. And there you'll see a description of my work. I have a portfolio of my projects, and my contact information is there. You can send me an email or call me on the phone, and I can help you with your project.
Thank you so much. JohnRiggio, just letting you know in case you didn't. Thank you so much. Have a great 4th, okay? Enjoy your holiday. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.